Hey buns, I know it's been a very long time since I've been able to say that, and I thank you for being patient. I honestly needed a mental break after the dust finally settled and I found a safe place to live. This has been the worst year of my life, but I've made it this far in no small part thanks to you and the games that brought us together in the first place. I want to talk about how in today's video, but in case you're new and you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, I spent most of this year having my life upended by Putin's fascist regime when Russia invaded the country that I called home for many years, Ukraine. Ukraine is the country that this channel was founded in, and me and my loved ones had to flee our homes there. We have documented that entire journey on the Zep Live channel because it archives clips from my Twitch streams before the war, when I explained the danger to the chat and there was the Russian troops lining up alongside the border, and I said, well, maybe it's just saber rattling, and we didn't know what to think. And then my troubles getting my pets' passports, but my refusal to leave without them the days just before the attack, when I thought that getting my hair dyed would make me feel better. And obviously it didn't. And the rage that I felt after it started, and my shock that Putin actually said he didn't think Ukraine should exist. That, like, his declaration of genocidal aims, that's when we knew that it was really going to be horrible. And I also remember recording the day that we were forced to flee our home in Bucha. That is all there. Thank God I wasn't there when the Russians came, as they came to my neighbors. They did steal some shit, though. They stole my PlayStation, they stole AirPods and some other stuff. AirPods are in Russia now. But anyway, I don't need to go into all that because it is all there, archived on Zep Live. These are all conversations that I've had with you before and during our gaming sessions throughout this awful war. I've moved 6 times in 6 months, and then another 2 or 3 times after that. Like, if you've watched the channel or streams, you've seen my backgrounds change over and over. I've just been caught in this whirlwind, staying wherever I could for as long as I could, from Poland to Germany, Portugal, Spain, France, and every kind of like jank ass setup, from kitchen tables to TV stands, absolute worst battle stations that you can imagine, but good enough to stream and play. Like, that is the one thing that I could always return to. That was the one constant in a sea of chaos. Like, my games, and by extension, my stream, my community. I can get overwhelmed easily. I have diagnosed ADHD, and so I really thrive in structure, routines, and planning. That is like the glue that holds my life together and keeps it from falling apart. And the only thing that I could plan, like the only routine that I could count on, has been that time gaming, like on Twitch, being social with you guys in our MMOs. So even though, yeah, my life did fall apart, I still had a little bit of that glue keeping some of the pieces together. Gaming has been this familiar, safe place. Like, I mean, always has been, but this year, MMOs gave me a place to call home and have this sense of purpose when I felt really lost and directionless. Even if it's just, quest objectives, dailies, weeklies, tomestones, whatever, it was still something that I understood, even when nothing else made any sense. Like, there were many months when I didn't even know if my house was still standing. And then, elation when I found out that it did, and then the crushing realization that, oh, it's not going to be safe to return, and I don't know what I'm going to do now. Like, it was just it's been a roller coaster. You might say, oh, well, having a virtual world to go home to is cold comfort in that situation. Yeah, I know, of course it is. Yeah, but it is something, and you'd be surprised how much you come to appreciate just the smallest comforts when it feels like you're hanging by a thread. There was this one aspect of my life that, in spite of everything, did not change. And it helped me stay grounded. And it felt like I had been just rushed away in this raging river and had managed to grab onto something that wasn't moving, like that one thing, like a boulder or a tree or something, so that it didn't completely float away and off the waterfall. It also helped. I mean, it helps still. I don't know what tense to use for this, because so much of this thoughts are still current, even though I'm physically safe, but it helps divert my attention, right? Like, without games, or when I wasn't gaming or streaming, I would often, especially when there was a lot more news coverage on the situation in Ukraine, fall into this black hole of doom scrolling. Like, it's important to stay informed, and you should, but there is definitely a limit to the number of dead and tortured bodies that you should look at in a day. It was especially rough for me seeing some of those gruesome scenes from my familiar streets of Bucha. Like, I'm glad I didn't look away, but at the same time, I'm grateful that I had something else to look at, something separate to immerse myself in, that reminded me of better times, that, you know, reasons to laugh and things to strive for, new patches to look forward to. It helped me escape reality when things around me felt very, very bleak. Like, I felt like I had lost so much. But this is going to sound really stupid to say. I felt like I lost so much, but everything on my character was still there. That sounds really dumb to say, but that's true. Like, it was like almost like a time capsule that's online, that's digital, with all these digital possessions that are still there. I could still carry, because I often would think back to, you know, why did I choose to take this and not that? Why didn't I take more? Why did I forget this or that? But obviously the digital stuff, it's completely separate. Like, it's always safe, right? Like, yes, in my life, I used to play WoW 18 hours a day. Like, there was a time when I did that. That is not healthy. I know that can happen. But, so like escapism, I understand when it can be an issue, but on the flip side, games can also help pull you back from the edge when reality is way too much. Like, sometimes it is essential having that sense of progression and achievement and advancement when I felt like I was just treading water. Even though I was like using all my energy, I was just treading water, having the power to make some choices that led to positive outcomes, or simply decide where to go, what to do, like some kind of agency when I felt tossed about by the winds of fate. Like, games can help you feel powerful, capable, eliminating danger, like you're in control of your destiny. And that's what I've really needed lately more than anything else. Games also gave me a way to be social at a time when I was so depressed. Like, I think maybe, I don't know if depressed is the right word, maybe grief, like empty. I'll say that when I went to Portugal, I was really hyped because one of my raid team members lived nearby, and we would get a chance to meet up. And I was sure that we would. Like, I love meeting new people. I consider myself to be a fairly extroverted person, and I definitely want to meet someone that I've raided with online, Final Fantasy. I was so excited. There was no doubt in my mind that we would meet. Of course we would. But, like, it wasn't even that far away. He was not even that far away. But for some reason, I really just couldn't. It's hard to explain. I just didn't feel like myself at all. I often thought of calling my friend to make plans and meet up, as I so very much wanted to do. But I also felt like the real me was gone. Like, or if she lived, then she was just this glimmer that showed up and lived on in my Twitch streams and in my games. You know, my bunny girl, my avatar, warrior flight, this like very small flickering light. That's just, you know, sheltered from the wind during our time together online. Not strong enough to completely illuminate like me at the time and all the darkness that I was feeling, but at least enough to not go out. And I felt like in this year I have gotten a lot of mileage out of that little spark. That's why I was so touched from the song Flow about, you know, well come and well met, my brave little spark. How long you've wondered. It did keep me from total collapse, but it couldn't take me much further than that. I feel like my grief caused me to self-isolate. That's what I do when I'm upset. Like, I have a tendency to just hide away. But games remained an accessible place for us to meet. So even though I was struggling to meet my friend in real life, we were still able to meet in game. And not just my friend, but many people I was able to talk to and socialize every time I got online. So because of that, my grief did not paralyze me, and I was still able to take that next step forward. I want to thank those of you who dressed up in yellow and blue and gave that time to support Ukraine. It made me smile, and I look back on that fondly. And of course, everyone from the community who offered help and support. I couldn't help but think of you when Zelensky recently addressed the defenders of good as warriors of light. Ursula K. Le Guin once wrote that fantasy is escapist, and that is its glory. If a soldier is imprisoned by the enemy, don't we consider it his duty to escape? If we value the freedom of the mind and soul, if we're partisans of liberty, then it's our plain duty to escape and to take as many people with us as we can. The massively multiplayer online fantasy worlds that I have immersed myself in over the past year, and other just fantasy worlds, like Final Fantasy XIV, Elden Ring, they did open a window in my mind, like a chance to breathe, a chance to explore, to play, when I didn't feel like doing any of that in real life, like the sun shining in a darkened room. Games didn't and won't solve all my problems, but they gave me a leg up when I really needed it. They helped me live and just stopped me from falling into a pit. I do want to add that while gaming has been a fantastic coping mechanism for me, I know from my past it can't be the only tool in my kit. That's something I've been coming to terms with now, that I'm like, well, where do I go from here? Like, how do I move on? I heard someone say once that gaming can feel like starting up your brain in safe mode whenever you feel frozen or stuck. And I definitely feel like that's true. Like, becoming actively engaged with the game can get your motors running and perk you up a little bit and set you on another course when you're spiraling. For me, that has been essential. But of course, now I'm trying to add other things like getting back to the gym, eating well, therapy, or medication, other hobbies like hiking I enjoy, while at the same time juggling 3 different MMOs. That's a different story. I still don't have this whole thing figured out. While I am physically safe, it is hard not to grieve what was lost. I often have nightmares about the war. I wish none of this stuff ever happened, and it'll take some time to come to terms with all of that. But in the meanwhile, I'm immensely grateful to have these worlds to find refuge in, and to find friendship in, and brotherhood in. So thank you for that. And I know without a doubt that Ukraine will win this war. I've never gone this long without making a video for the channel. So thank you for your patience. I have been on a mental health journey, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you today about how gaming has been an incredible tool for me in that. Though I am looking forward to getting back to business here on the channel, and as best as I can. In the meantime, though, you can find me on twitch.tv/ZeplaHQ or on Twitter at XEPLA. You can support the channel on Patreon or on Twitch, or for free by clicking the subscribe button or by sharing this video with your fellow buns. So thank you so much for watching and for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.